Hi, in this video we're going to answer the question how to shift your mindset from a negative mindset to a positive mindset. We're going to explore effective techniques on how to actually make that shift from things like neuro-linguistic programming and timeline therapy. And of course we want to look at why, right? The benefits, how that's going to improve your performance and your leadership and your relationships and your well-being. So this video is kind of broken up into 5 parts. The first part, we're going to take a look at the impact that having a negative mindset has on you. And we're going to look at the 5 stages that you kind of go through when you're shifting your mindset from a negative to a positive. We're going to look at 3 very important and powerful tools that can help you make that shift. Then we're going to kind of look at how you can then start working on that positive mindset, right? What are some of the practical ways that you can build that? In the last section, we're just going to talk about a real-life story that shows the power of a positive mindset. Let's first take a look at the impact of a negative mindset, because negative mindset has a huge impact on your overall well-being. And overall well-being not only impacts you, but it impacts other people as well. There's a Framingham study, which is based on a study done in Framingham, Massachusetts. I was originally looking at the medical boy, I was going so good with that too. Dang it. All right. Let's first talk about the impact of a negative mindset, because a negative mindset has a significant impact on your overall well-being, on your physical, mental, and spiritual health. But it also impacts those people around you. There's a well-known study, the Framingham study, that looked at the town of Framingham, Massachusetts, and did some medical research. But then you had a couple researchers went and looked at that data, and they discovered a couple fascinating points. First is that the people who expressed the most happiness in their life spread that happiness to other people. So their immediate circle were happier, those friends were happier, and even sometimes those friends were happier. However, they also discovered that those who were depressed spread depression, and that was even more powerful. So, if you were depressed, your friends became more depressed. Their friends became more depressed. And sometimes their friends became more depressed. And then the really amazing, shocking, surprising thing was that was spread by women. When men felt more depressed, it had no negligible impact on their peer groups. But when women did, it increased the likelihood that their friends, including males, right? So female, it wasn't just spreading it through female friends, but also male friends, were over 140% more likely to become depressed. So that was a powerful impact on a negative mindset on the well-being, emotional well-being of not just you, but those around you. Now let's take a look at the 5 stages that you would go through if you're going to move from a negative mindset to a positive, or really it's any shift of any mindset. When we work with our clients, we're really going to focus on bringing them through these 5 stages. So the first stage is you take responsibility for where you're at, right? You become responsible, you take ownership over your time, take ownership over your memories, you take ownership over the labels that you accept or that you even give yourself, you take ownership in the beliefs that you have, you're taking ownership for the quality of your life. When we get you to that place where you're owning it, yep, well then we got to move you forward into taking ownership by actually doing something about your memories. We want to clean them up. We want to help you identify and then let go of limiting beliefs and negative emotions primarily. Third, we then want you to actually apply heat to your life, and that's a term that I coined that stands for habit, emotion, attitude, and training. So You have to develop some habits around managing your emotions and the attitude that comes with these positive emotions and beliefs, and you're regularly training that. Then you actually want to really get synergy going. So we're going to get you working on developing these habits, but you really need synergy to do that well and effectively. So you want an accountability group, you want a team, you want a family, you want a group of people doing this together, because your likelihood to succeed and develop those all important habits increase exponentially. Then lastly, we really want to make a subtle shift and not just have these as habits, but rituals. And essentially by that we mean there's planning, there's purpose, and you are making them important. You're doing something that signifies their importance. And it becomes ritualistic because you do those little things that really represent to you that this is vitally important. So now let's take a look at 3 powerful psychological tools you can employ to help you make that shift. First is cognitive behavioral therapy. And what we will take from that discipline is something you can use in journaling. It's really, really, really valuable to write in a journal. And what you would be doing here is when you are experiencing especially negativity, right? When you become aware of it and you, oh yes, I'm thinking a negative thought. You want to begin to write down like what triggered it. How did I do that? You want to get away from the emotion of the stress that's triggering these feelings and the emotions that are negative, these negative thinkings. You want to get into the process. How are you doing it? How did that trigger it? What are you thinking in your mind? How are you thinking in your mind? When you move from the emotion to the process, you actually diminish the power of the stress and writing it down. There are questions, things like the meta model. There's a bunch of questions that you can learn to ask yourself, like, how do I do that? It's a very important one, a go-to question, which will focus on process, and that can interrupt that pattern. NLP. NLP is another one, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which talks about how your brain actually takes language, verbal and nonverbal, forms programs in your brain to generate a behavior. So it's very similar. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps you kind of identify those things. And then there's some techniques such as a Swiss pattern and just some visualization, and anchoring is a very powerful one that will help you connect positive emotions to certain stimuli and how to reframe how you're picturing things. So the only way your brain can really understand something that you feel good about is it's got to represent that differently than something you don't feel good about, right? So when you begin to understand that your brain codes that, then you can begin to learn how to shift that. And then timeline therapy is another powerful tool that I use all the time with clients. When you go through that, when you're guided through it, once you kind of learn the basics of it, it's something that you can do to help manage your emotions on a regular basis. But the general idea or premise of it is you get back before an event where you first experienced these negative emotions or limiting beliefs, and by you get back there before it, you can eliminate it. There's a little more to that, obviously, but that's a general principle. But those are 3 powerful techniques and tools you can begin to use. So now let's talk about some practical steps to cultivate a positive mindset. 1, meditation and mindfulness, prayer life, building those into your life, hugely important. 2, positively. You want to have positive music. Music's a powerful anchor. So use music. Use it to help manage your mood and monitor your mood. Positive affirmations, learning some adages and positive sayings that you can repeat and go to. It's important to remember that every time you say a negative to yourself or somebody says a negative to you, it takes between 3 to 5 positives to counteract that negative. So getting into a routine of being able to say these affirmations, listening to positive music, smells, some positive smells around, good artwork, all those things are fantastic ways to begin to build and surround yourself with positivity. So one of the great examples of somebody who lives this positive mindset is Tony Robbins. Anthony Robbins, when he was a teenager, he tells a story of, well, not living in an ideal or idyllic family. He had some challenges in his family life, but he was not going to let that entrap him. Right? He was determined to understand how successful people lived successful lives, and especially was interested in leading joyful life, right? Positive life. And through NLP, Jim Rohn was one of his mentors. He really learned how to develop this positive mental attitude, live positively, learning how to focus on the positive, because what you focus on is what you get. And he has worked with elite athletes, world leaders. He's one of the premier motivational speakers and human performance specialists out there. And he exemplifies that positive mindset. I'd like to invite you to check out one of our other videos. What is the importance of a mindset training curriculum? So check that video out next.